There are people who've been saying for many years that the level of DNA in these vaccines is innocuous. But science has well established there are several problems with this DNA. So when we manufacture a vaccine using a cell, the final product is contaminated with fragments of DNA from the cell. If the cell is an animal, we have an immune response to it and we eliminate it, right? If the DNA is from a human, it can insert into stem cells and cause mutations. And it can also activate an immune receptor called toll-like receptor 9. But everyone says, oh, the levels are too low. So the amount of DNA that's important here is the amount in the blood, right? Mm-hmm. So, a mom has 5 to 6 liters of blood. A baby at the age that we're giving them these vaccines has between 1/2 to 1 liter. So chickenpox, we know from Merck, it's in their summary statement for approval, is contaminated with 2 micrograms of fetal DNA. Okay. All right? That is well beyond 0.22 nanograms per mil. So 2 micrograms is injected in the child. That's 2,000 nanograms. They have 1/2 liter of blood, up to 20 nanograms per mil. That's an awful lot.
Right, a lot.
We know anything over 0.22 is going to activate that receptor. So from the dendritic cells and the T cells, you're going to have a massive cytokine outpouring, which that can cause multi-organ failure.
So explain cytokine storm, cytokine.
So cytokine storm, we call it cytokine release syndrome also. It happens when your immune system is overactivated too rapidly. And all the cells spill out the components that they normally would spill out more slowly over time to try to kill the pathogen. So these are killer molecules, the cytokines.
Right.
They're supposed to cause damage and make holes in cell membranes. And when you release so much at once, you get bystander damage, civilian casualties, you get collateral damage.
Like it just starts wiping out. You don't have a specific target. You wipe out the village and towns nearby. Innocent cells die, and you start having real problems inside the body.
Yes. And vaccine manufacturers have never measured cytokine levels in children. And anyone who says that the contaminants in these vaccines are innocuous either doesn't know anything about immunology and vaccines, how they work, or they're not telling the truth. We're also going to have antibodies made to that, right? The immune response, it doesn't recognize like one single point. It recognizes like a piece of something. And so maybe what's different from the fetal DNA to the child's DNA is one point, but the antibody actually reacts to like this segment.
Right.
And that segment is going to be found in the child. Our DNA is so similar. And it could cause a massive autoimmune attack on the brain during brain remodeling. And that occurs sometime between birth and about 3 years, maybe some kids a little later, where we're born with a lot more nerve cells than we die with. And 70%, 90% die off very, very rapidly. And as they're dying so rapidly, the DNA is exposed that's not normally exposed. We also know from published literature that when we give mice injected into their blood fragments of DNA, 100% of those mice take that DNA up into the stem cells in their bone marrow. And then and it's at levels lower than the concentrations that children are getting when they're injected with these fetal manufactured vaccines.